Welcome to the electrifying 7th round of the World Chess Championship. Today we witness a battle between two titans of the game: India's young prodigy, Gukesh, and the reigning world champion, Ding Liren of China. Today, Gukesh takes the helm with the white pieces. Let's see what Gukesh opens with. Will it be a bold gambit or a slow strategic build-up? The first move is moments away. Get ready for an epic showdown. Gukesh opens with knight f3, the Reti opening. By playing knight f3, Gukesh keeps his options open, potentially transitioning into a variety of systems, including the English opening and the Queen's Gambit setups. Now it's Ding's turn to decide. Will he respond with 1, d5, staking an early claim to the center, or will he try nf6? Ding chooses to challenge the center with d5. Gukesh continues with g3, heading into a Catalan-style setup or a flexible hypermodern system. Here, Ding responds with g6, likely aiming for a Grunfeld defense or King's Indian defense-like setup. Gukesh immediately responds with d4. Now Ding plays bishop g7, then Gukesh plays c4, reinforcing his central dominance and adopting a classic Catalan structure. Here, Ding goes for c6. He is playing a typical response in the Slav defense structure. Now Gukesh plays bishop g2 and Ding plays knight f6, preparing to castle kingside. Now both of them castles, and this is the neo-Grunfeld defense. Then, Gukesh plays rook e1, a quiet yet powerful move that enhances his central control. By placing the rook on the e-file, Gukesh is ready to support a potential e4 push, which could challenge Ding's pawn structure and open the center. At this point, Ding spends a significant 28 minutes in thought and captures the pawn on c4, and this time investment could haunt him later in the game. Now Gukesh plays e4 and Ding responds with bishop g4. Then Gukesh calmly responds with knight bd2. This knight on d2 is attacking the c4 pawn as well as support the e4 pawn. Here, Ding strikes the center with c5. Now Gukesh faces a critical decision. Should he push d5 or capture on c5, or play a move like h3, keeping the tension? After a brief pause, Gukesh confidently plays d5, the best move in the position. Now we get the move e6 and h3. Bishop takes knight, bishop takes bishop, e takes d, and e takes d. Now if you had attempted to capture the d5 pawn, white could have simply taken the c4 pawn with his knight. And if you had moved the knight to f6, white would trade queens and capture the b7 pawn, and now you could capture and win the game. Therefore, Ding plays knight bd7 and Gukesh captures c4. Now Ding plays b5, attacking the knight, and knight moves to a3. Here, Ding plays queen b6, protecting the b5 pawn and increasing pressure on white's queenside. Gukesh responds with bishop f4, bringing his bishop into the game, and Ding plays rook fe8. Now Gukesh plays queen d2, connecting his rooks, and Ding follows with rook ad 8, placing his rook on the semi-open d-file. Then Gukesh plays knight c2, repositioning his knight to a more active square, and Ding plays knight f8, which is a very passive move. Instead, he could have brought that knight to a more active c5 square after pushing pawn to c4. At this point, Gukesh plays b4, an aggressive and bold move. Now Ding must decide whether to capture the b4 pawn or push the pawn to c4. He decides to push it to c4. After this move, the position effectively becomes a pawn versus pawn battle, with both sides having passed pawns, white's d5 pawn and black's c4 pawn. Now Gukesh plays bishop e3, attacking the queen, and queen moves to a6. Then, Gukesh plays bishop d4, an excellent move, bringing bishop to an active square and putting pressure on knight and bishop through this diagonal. Now rook takes rook and rook takes rook. Then Ding captures the free pawn. This is a mistake. While it gains material, the queen is sidelined, giving Gukesh a chance to capitalize on his active rook. Now rook a1, attacking the queen, and queen b3. The bishop is attacked by queen. Gukesh then calmly responds with rook a3, a dual-purpose move that defends the bishop and keeps the queen under attack. Ding responds with queen b1 check and king g2 by Gukesh. Then Ding plays rook d7. Now rook a5 is the best move. Let's see if Gukesh finds it or not. Yes, he finds it. Ding plays queen b3, and rook comes back to a3. Not a good move. Instead, he could have captured b5 pawn. Here, queen b1 again. Gukesh plays rook a5 again, and Ding repeats with queen b3. Now Gukesh captures b5, the best move in the position, and queen d3 by Ding. At this point, Gukesh has considerable advantage. Here, the best move is bishop e3, but Gukesh plays queen f4, the second best move according to the engine. Now queen captures knight and bishop captures knight. Then Ding plays queen f5, offering a queen trade, and Gukesh accepts the trade. Queen takes queen and pawn takes queen. Now Gukesh takes the bishop, which is an inaccurate move, and he lost the advantage by this move. Instead, he could have played bishop g5 and kept the bishop pair. In the game, bishop takes bishop and king recaptures the bishop. Then Gukesh plays a great move, rook c5. Now Ding activates the knight by moving to g6, and rook takes the pawn and knight e5, attacking the rook and rook d4. Then knight moves to c6, which forks the rook and pawn. Here, Gukesh plays rook to f4 and knight e7 by Ding. Here, Gukesh pushes pawn to b5 and Ding plays king f6. Gukesh responds with rook d4. At this point, even though Gukesh has an extra pawn, the engine shows only a slight advantage. Now king e5 is not a good move because black will lose h-pawn, and if you try to defend with rook, I will go here, attack a 7-pawn, and if you try to defend like this, rook goes to a 6 and wins the h-pawn. At this point, Ding has only 30 seconds left and he plays king e5, a big mistake. Now the position is completely winning for white. However, Gukesh needs to play accurately to win the game. Here, Gukesh plays the best move, rook h4, and Ding captures the pawn on d5 and Gukesh captures h6. Gukesh has a completely winning position because he has an extra passer on the h-file. Now Ding plays knight c3, attacking the b5 pawn. Here, the best move is rook c5. If you take this pawn, check with rook and win the knight. Let's see if Gukesh finds that move. Yes, he finds the move. He finds it. He really finds it. What an incredible play. What a fantastic play by Gukesh. Then Ding plays knight e4. Now Gukesh plays king e1, which is not a good move. Instead, he could have played h4, and if you play knight d2 check, and king goes to g2 and takes. Now rook to d3 and rook to a6 and takes the pawn, and white takes this pawn. Here, king to f6 and check, king to g7 and h5. White is actually winning here. But in the game, Gukesh plays king to e1, not a good move, and Ding responds with f6 after 15 minutes of thought. Here, Gukesh plays h4. But the best move according to the engine is rook to c8, and white is winning here. If you play rook to d5, bishop to e2, and if rook to d4, rook to e8 check and king to d5, now h4, h5, and white will win the game. But in the game, Gukesh plays h4 and lost the advantage again. Now Ding plays rook to d3 and bishop to d1 by Gukesh. Here Ding plays a great move, f4, to get rid of the double pawn, and the game moves towards a draw after this move. Now if you play bishop to c2, sack the rook and take the g-pawn, and white takes rook and plays g2 and wins the game by queening. In the game, Gukesh captures the f4 pawn, and Ding recaptures. Then, Gukesh plays bishop to c2, and we get the moves rook to d5, rook to c4, f5, rook to b4, king to f3, bishop to d1, king to g2, and rook to b3. Now, if you capture this pawn, white can play bishop to f3 check and wins the rook. Therefore, Ding plays rook to e5. Now we get the moves f4, rook to e7, and rook to e3, rook to h7 and h5. Then knight to f6, attacking the passer, and Gukesh counters with rook to e5. Ding captures the pawn, and Gukesh captures the f5 pawn. Now Ding plays knight to g3, attacking the rook, and Gukesh plays rook to f8. Instead, Gukesh could have played d5 to give a last try to win the game. But in the game after rook to f8, Ding plays rook to b7, which attacks b5. Here, Gukesh plays bishop to a4 to defend the b-pawn. Now, Ding plays king to f3, and the game is moving towards a draw because the f-pawn can be captured with the king or knight in the future. Now we get the moves f5 king to f4, f6, knight to e4, and bishop to c2. Now Ding plays knight to d6, and here the f-pawn cannot move further as it is tied up by the rook and knight. Now we get king to e5 and bishop and knight to f7 and rook to d5 check. Here, Ding captures the f-pawn, and now both of them have equal materials. A few more moves are played like king to d2, rook to b6, bishop to c4, rook to d6, king to c3, rook takes rook, bishop takes rook, knight to d6, king to b4, knight takes pawn, king takes knight a6, and king takes pawn. After king takes pawn, the game ended in a draw. There were a lot of ups and downs and advantage throughout the game, and overall it was very exciting to watch. After 7 rounds, 3.5 points each for Gukesh and Ding Liren. Let's wait and see the upcoming rounds. I hope you enjoyed this recap and stay tuned for the next game.